This is a Sihl Glamour board. It's essentially it's the 3145 Glamour 12 mil S photo board. This is a cardstock. This is one of my favorites if you're going to print on cardstock. I ran this cardstock on a 500 series. It was run on the 570. There's things to understand if you're going to run cardstock. First, the surface of this sill is probably one of the better that I've seen. It's a nice receptive coating. It's nice and even, and when I look at it at the side, I don't see really much in the way of gloss differential or other bronzing or effects. This looks nice. Now, I ran this at 36 inches wide. It may not work at 54. It might not work at 42. It might not work at 60. When you're running cardstock, when you're running anything along uncoated or offset coated papers, you want to be careful that you don't put too much ink, you don't put too much heat. Also, the wider the material, the harder it gets. This is not a certified media, but I don't have any trouble recommending it with a couple caveats. The first is, you may be required to run it as a narrower roll than a wider roll. I don't know for sure. But I do know that if I run a 36-inch roll, I'm going to have better success. It's going to be a little easier with more heat and more ink with less trouble than running a 54-inch roll. Because a 54-inch roll is wider, and usually what can happen is right at the middle it will pocket. The dimensional stability of the material with the water on top of it will give way and it will try to pocket. I can try to overcome it primarily by adjusting the amount of heat, lowering it, and adjusting the amount of ink, also lowering it. So at 54 inches, this product might work, but I would run 12 pass with an inner pass delay at 170 degrees with 80% ink, or 70% ink. If I run 36 inches, I can run 12 pass with no inner pass delay at 180 degrees at 80 or 90% ink. That difference might make the difference between the customer approving the job, in which case this looks quite good, and the customer saying, it looks a little washed out. The thing with most of your cardstocks, your 12-point cardstocks, is if you can't put enough ink on it, it'll look washed out. You can also have effects from not being able to put enough ink down where you have this unevenness and this almost like a bronzing effect to it. You can have irregularities where it almost looks scuffed or scratched. There are cardstocks on the market. Some of them work better than others. This is one of the ones I do like, but be aware that running cardstock is going to require some attention. Also, I tend to run with a higher vacuum, but in some cases, having a higher vacuum is not necessarily going to overcome having too much heat and too much ink. It's just not going to clear that hurdle. You have to get the heat down, you have to get the ink down, then this thing will work. Also, if I can run a narrower roll, I do run a narrower roll. Be aware as well that the take-up reel may create issues and make it harder on a 500 series or a 300 series than running without the take-up roll. Because the way this comes off the printer, the take-up reel may cause it to come up and cause it to scratch. In many cases, I find no take-up roll with a cardstock works better. I ran this with the take-up roll because I'm going to run enough that I need to walk away from it and have the take-up roll pick up the slack. You may have to adjust the take-up roll to the extra tension setting, which you can do in the interface. If you start applying the lower heat, the lower ink, you make sure your vacuum is enough, you make sure that you have an inner pass delay if needed, you put it on the take-up roll, but you do it with the extra tension, you run a little narrower roll. These things will work. It is possible to print on cardstock. I've run quite a bit of it, but it's going to take some finesse. One other thing to be aware of. At the beginning of the roll, on a 3-inch core, it may run fine. And then as you get towards the end of the roll, it starts coming up. Well, that's because when you're on a 3-inch core and you have all of that memory, inside towards the core is going to have more spring than outside where it's going to be looser. As you get closer to that 3-inch, that material has more spring to it, and it may take more vacuum, and at some point it just may not work. No matter what you do, that spring is going to be stronger, that memory on the paper will be stronger than your tension and your vacuum to hold it down, in which case you're just going to have to call it off. But things to understand about cardstock, just little details. This is a product that I do like. This is probably my first go-to within the cardstock context, which is the Sihl 3145 Glamour 12mm S photo board.